This is episode 128, The Satisfaction Equation, and why more is never enough.
Welcome to Alive by Design. My name is Blake Mallon, and we're here to bring you inspiring people, principles, and practices to help you wake up, move toward your meant to, and feel fully alive. Open your mind and let's dive in. Hey guys, before you listen to the podcast, I just want to drop in and say I appreciate you for being here, and I'm super excited about this new Walk With Me series. These are solo episodes where I take some time in the middle of my morning run through the Santa Monica Mountains to share some inspired ideas and thoughts on my mind and heart. If you want to join me for any of these conversations live, you can catch me many mornings on my Facebook page, facebook.com/blakemallon.page. Would love to see you there. Love you guys. Enjoy the episode. Walk with me. So I heard the most amazing life equation the other day. Satisfaction equals what we have divided by what we want. So simple, yet so powerful. When I say satisfaction, I'm talking like real satisfaction. That word satisfaction doesn't have enough like energy behind it to transfer the meaning. So to clarify, like when I say satisfaction, I mean like real, genuine, personal satisfaction. Not settling, not slightly above complacency, not average or mediocre, but like a true satisfaction is the feeling that this equation stands for. And if we think about it, isn't that what we want? Like at the end of the day, don't we all want to wake up every morning from the first moment, our eyes open, feeling truly satisfied, going through our day, our work, our career, our profession, our purpose, and from the last breath and last blink before we fall asleep, feeling genuinely, wholly, thoroughly satisfied. I mean, that's life, right? That's what being alive, and more than being, feeling alive, should be about. Is a real, thorough satisfaction. So why not talk about this equation, since it's something we all should be pursuing every single day? Satisfaction equals the answer, the equation, what we have divided by what we want. I want to unpack that. I want to explain kind of my interpretation and experience to it, and maybe even give a slight adjustment as I pass that equation on to you all today. So satisfaction, I guess, let me not assume. How many of you have a personal goal, or maybe now that I communicated it, will make a personal goal to live a life where you're truly satisfied, you truly feel alive, you truly go through the day and you are thoroughly content, not in a settling way, but in a alive way. I mean, if that's something we're all searching, let me know. I don't just want to assume. I know that's the way I want to live. Matter of fact, the opposite of that wouldn't be much of a life, going through every day unsatisfied. So that's why I think this equation is so important and touches on so many things we all fight every single day on both sides of that coin, the things we have and our perspective of what those are, and the things we want and how we're constantly walking through bushes here today. Look at this, it's getting grown out. How we're constantly influenced by everything around us on what that is supposed to be. It reminds me of a viral meme maybe you've seen going around the internet at one point, and I'll describe it. It's a visual meme. Imagine, and this is a perfect place to imagine, we're getting to the top of the mountain here. Imagine we look up and there's a gorgeous private jet. A Gulfstream flying through the air, branded, painted, slick, brand new. And imagine there's a person driving down there on PCH in a Ferrari convertible down on this hot day that looks up at the jet. Says, man, I wish I had a jet. And as he's cruising down PCH, top down, radio blaring, brand new Ferrari, he passes somebody to the right who had just picked up an old, really multi-decade used car. It was the only thing that they could afford, but needed the transportation to go to and from work, was a sole income for a household. Years old, barely running, dented, rusted. And as the Ferrari flies by, the person in that old kind of used car looks over and just says, man, I wish I had a Ferrari. And that person's driving to work and continuing to drive to work, passes just over here. There's a bridge going over PCH, and you can imagine as that person drives in on the way to work, you have someone right above on a bicycle, right? That's riding their bicycle to their job for the day, that's looking down at that car as he's riding the bicycle over the bridge and looks down and says to himself, man, I wish I had a car to get to work. And as that bicycle is riding to work, passing just a ton of people, especially out here in Santa Monica, but people that are walking around, and someone looks over to the person on the bicycle and just thinks to themselves, wow, I wish I had a bicycle to get to where I want to go faster. And as that person's walking to their destination over here, right down there, you can see Santa Monica. That person looks over and glances at them, and the person in the wheelchair thinks to themselves, man, I wish I had legs, that I could just walk wherever I wanted to go. And the person in the wheelchair maybe rolls by the hospital right down the street and sees family going in and out of the hospital and visiting some older relatives that are there and fighting through health battles. And the person looks over at the person in the wheelchair and just says, man, I really hope that my family is able to wheel out of this place today. And I think you get the premise of the story. And isn't that so true? And I know I may be dramatized, but I think each and every one of those scenarios, we could find populations full of people and everywhere in between that are constantly in a place where they could look both directions. On one end, there's always someone that has more, right? There's always another level. There's always a want or a desire. There's, always somebody a step ahead, right, to aspire to. And we can always look the other direction and also acknowledge that there's also in every one of those situations people that are in places that would die to have what you have or be in the place that you are. And no matter who we are, no matter where we're from, no matter where we're at in our own journey right now, I'm willing to bet all around the world we all could look left or look right and have people ahead of us and have people behind us. Am I right or am I wrong? And what's crazy about that story is, especially here in kind of Western culture, we're so fixated on looking at everything ahead of us that often that second part of the equation, what we want, the list of things we want, consumes so much of our time, our energy, our focus, our attention. And we don't spend enough on the first part of that equation, recognizing what we truly have. It's interesting. I had a chance to spend some personal time in a small group with 50 Cent. 50. How many of you guys love 50? How many of you guys, come on, throwback, Super Bowl halftime, upside down? Are you kidding me? And it's interesting. We had a chance to have a conversation in more of a professional format, a personal format. And in a fairly intimate group out with our community. And he shared a story of how he was on the come up, and especially in obviously the rap industry exaggerates the desire not only to want more, but to flash, right, more, and continuing to chase what's next. And he talked about a moment we had in his life where he had purchased a giant estate, a mansion out in Connecticut. It was actually the home of Mike Tyson at one point. It was a 52-bedroom mansion. Imagine having a house that had 52 bedrooms. And he said how that was like the pinnacle. He had to have, right, this mansion, and how he would throw party after party, and how there'd be times where he'd be throwing parties and he'd wake up the next day or days later and he'd find people that were still in his house that he didn't know were in his house, lost in this maze of bedrooms. And, how he got to a point where that no longer drove him. And I remember he said a statement as he was sharing this story of how there's nothing wrong with wanting that, right? It drove him to a level of success in his field. And I'll say there's nothing wrong for all of us, having a list of things that we want, things that we desire. Matter of fact, a lot of those things do serve a purpose to push us forward, to motivate us or inspire us in certain phases or certain seasons. And he said, look, the things are there, right? That feeling is there until you don't need it. And that hit me hard when he said that, because I think all of us have been in situations of life where there's certain physical things, right? There's certain list of more that we want, that we desire, that we look that others have and we say, man, I really need that. And it pushes us. And that can serve a point to push us to another level, to achieve certain things, to motivate us, to put in the extra, hour, to do the extra work, to make the extra call, to do the extra sale, to go the extra mile. And it serves us to get to a point until we don't need that anymore. And, I say this, obviously, having had personal experience. I know we all have. I have never been to the level of 50 Cent, nor ever thought about a 52-bedroom house or mansion. But I've had my own version of quote-unquote success. And I remember getting pushed, in especially early phases of my career, for the things that everybody else had, right? Pushing for the watch, right? Pushing for the cars, pushing for the house, pushing for the wardrobe, pushing for the things. And I remember, and hear me on this, getting to a certain point, and for me it was a shift. And I'll share this story because looking back, it was a moment for me where I started questioning, well, how much more really is there? And I went to the car dealership to pick up a new car. For those of you guys who know a little bit about my backstory, we had a thing for BMWs for a long time. The company that I founded, we gave them away at a certain sales level, a certain qualification level, hundreds of them. So I had a great relationship with BMW. They loved me. And that also meant that every time I went to go in a car, I was getting a BMW. I drove every BMW that ever existed. And I remember that BMW launched a brand new 6 Series. It was a gorgeous new model. I loved it. And they had this slick 2-door hard top M Series, and went to the dealership. I'm like, I'm gonna get this, and went to the dealership and knew exactly what I wanted. They had it picked out, and started filling out the paperwork for the car. And the car dealerships take forever, right? They take forever. It's a little side note, being a Tesla owner now, that I appreciate their process even as much as their technology, because it's so painless. But it was one of those days where you know you're going to spend the whole day on the car dealership just filling out, all the paperwork. And I wandered over to the dealership next door while they were filling out the paperwork, and there was this gorgeous, gorgeous white convertible Audi R8 Spider, around the same time that the Iron Man edition came out, where Tony Stark drove this car, and I'm an Iron Man fan. And I saw it on the lot and said, someone came out and saw me looking at, you want to take it for a drive? And I said, hey, I got time to kill. And I got in the car, and I remember posting a post on social media as I got into the car, and, as a little video. And I posted on Facebook. I said, hey, just got in this car, X amount of likes on this post and X amount of time, and I'll drive off the lot with it. And I remember that post got that certain amount of likes, and sure enough, I ended up picking up the second car on the same day. And I share this with a little bit of a grin. And it was an awesome day. It was a cool experience. And I remember enjoying that for a moment. And I remember a few weeks later, still loved the cars. But that feeling, right, that value was no longer on what I had. It was already shifted gears to what was next. I know some of you guys hearing that story, you're like, Blake, you suck, right? I wish I want to get to that situation where I have those problems, but hear me, you are in that situation right now. It's all a matter of perspective. Everything is relative. And I'm saying that as a story for me where I got to the moment where I started asking myself, well, it doesn't matter how much more there is. There's always going to be something next on the list. There's always going to be something bigger and better. There's always going to be someone ahead. There's always going to be the next edition. There's always going to be the next season. There's always going to be the next collection. And if you're constantly striving for what's more and fixating your focus on what you want with ignoring the first part of the equation, hear me on this one. Hear me on this one. It's a never-ending battle. It's an always losing battle. And you're never going to get to a place of satisfaction. It is an achiever's curse. It is a striver's curse. It is a hedonic treadmill. It is something that never ends. And it doesn't matter what level you're at right now. We all go through this from our own relative perspective. And I want you to question yourself, have you had any of those moments? And if not, maybe this will be one of those moments where you start to get overbalanced on the second part of the equation. It starts to be weighted on the what else do I want? What do I want? How long is that list? Is it infinite and indefinite? And we're not focused enough on the first part of the equation of what is it that we have. And you guys, it's not our fault. This isn't about guilt. I'll put it on the construct, on the system. Like we're taught it from the early age. Like the first thing we're doing is building the resume list, right? It's all about what's next. We go to school to get good grades, to go to the college to get good grades, to go to the more degrees to hang on the wall, to go to the job to build our way up. We're chasing the resume, and we're taught that when I do this, then I'll be happy. The when-then game. We're building a resume list. And then in adulthood, we shift from the resume list to the success list. And now we're chasing the things, right? The purse, the dress, the shoes, the car, the clothes, the house, the address, the things. And we're chasing this definition of success. But both of those, guys, are just constructs. And you got to pause for a minute and realize that all of that is a construct. They are things that are created by other people. It wasn't always like that. Civilizations haven't always been like that. Matter of fact, most of the world, even today, is not like that. That is a construct created from a system, right? From a media, influenced every single day of what they think we need to believe, we need to have in order to be satisfied. But it's a construct. And we play the resume list to the success list. And at the end of the day, that's not what's going to be on your eulogy list. None of those lists are your eulogy list, right? Your eulogy list has nothing to do with your resume list or your success list. The things on your eulogy list, you think about the things that people talk about or the things that you want people talking about you, it's a different list. And we need to make the shift from the resume list or the success list to the eulogy list and start thinking about that now. Now, don't get me wrong, guys. It's not about not wanting, right? Balancing a desire, right, for a next level, I think is important. But I'll give you two frames of mind. I think we have to reset our baseline. And what I mean by reset our baseline is when we look at the things that we have, I'm going to add a little edit to the equation. Listen to me here, because I think it's an important edit to make the equation work. Satisfaction is about the things that we're grateful we have. You see, we have to first acknowledge and have gratitude for the things that we have. Because so often that list right now, the things we have is a really long list. We're just not acknowledging or having gratitude for just how long the list is. We'll be like, I don't have anything. I don't have much. Is that the truth? Reestablish your baseline. You guys, it's crazy when you think the World Health Organization kicked out a report just a couple years ago, fairly recent, where they said, guys, 1/3, 1 out of every 3 people on the world right now don't have clean drinking water. 1 out of 3 don't have clean drinking water to drink. Over half of the world population doesn't have appropriate sanitation. Can't wash their hands or bathe or be sanitized or have appropriate hygiene. Half the world population. You guys look it up. These are facts from the World Health Organization. Imagine being a parent trying to raise kids and not being able to provide clean drinking water, or in a time through like pandemic, the ability to even sanitize. What baseline are you evaluating yourself from? You guys, I love facts like that to reestablish a baseline. I love going out and what I love about nonprofit work or community work or give back work is not only is it a way to serve and contribute, but it's a way to get back grounded to the true baseline that we have. Might sound silly, but one of the reasons that I love, backpacking is there's nothing like putting everything that you're going to survive on your back to realize how little you really need to get by. But I challenge you guys to do things to reground yourself and to focus on the list that you have, starting with the real baseline. We have this habit of constantly nudging up our own baseline and ignoring everything we do have. But you think about the things you have. That you wake up every day healthy. You're able to move. You're able to have basic food and shelter and water and sanitation. You're able to have people around you that love and care about you. You're able to have so much opportunity. You're able to have a device right now that you're able to connect and have a conversation like this with people all over the world that you may or may never even meet in person. Like, it's crazy the time that we live in. Start really being aware and conscious of the things that we do have, and that list becomes so long. That list becomes almost unlimited, and you start to balance out the equation of satisfaction. But you got to be aware and you got to be grateful for that list first. And then we can start to shift the list of the things that we want. And there's nothing wrong with the things that we want. If the things are still driving you, like 50 said, right? That feeling is there until you don't need it. If that feeling is there, let it drive you until you're at the place where you don't need it. When you get to the place you don't need it, you can still want more, but for different reasons. Now it becomes wanting more to elevate impact, to create a platform to have a voice, to create an influence to make a difference, right? There's still a desire there. But again, the equation still has to be true. That desire, even for the right reasons, can't outweigh the awareness and the gratitude of the things we have. If we do, we won't be satisfied. We won't be satisfied. For those of you guys, it's been a while since you've done math. It's an easy equation. Our satisfaction, true satisfaction, the things we have divided by the things we want means the things we have, that list needs to be longer, more dense, more heavy, more weighted than the things we want. In every scenario, if it's not longer, you do the math, the satisfaction goes into a deficit, a negative, an unsatisfaction. So we got to make sure we take the time, reestablish the baseline, create an awareness, list and be grateful for the things we have. Not just to say, but to be genuine. And then to continue to have the things that we want and make sure that list is smaller. And it can be the things if it moves you. And they'll move you until you're at a place where you don't need those things to move you anymore. And you still want things, but for a different reason. But that's the equation of satisfaction. And it doesn't matter where you're at in the journey. It doesn't matter if you're the person in the jet or the person on the Ferrari or the person with the used car or the person riding the bike or the person walking around or the person in the wheelchair or the person walking into the hospital. There's people ahead of us, there's people behind us, and this equation is relevant for all of us the same. Our satisfaction and the way we feel is going to come down to the equation. The things we have, our awareness and our gratitude, divided by the things that we want. So let's be conscious and mindful about what those lists are and real, especially about that list of the things we all truly have today. I'll give you one more view from the top. Some of the things I'm grateful for. Time to chat together. Sun is shining. Views like this. The ability to walk and stay healthy. The ability to connect with you. All the things right here in this moment are on my list. And I challenge you to think, what's on your list of the things that you want? Maybe even articulate it, write it out, start to keep track of it as a way to hit that RAS and create that awareness. And don't let this be misunderstood to not have the desire. The desires of the things for more are important to push us and to move us. Let's just make sure we keep the balance in place so we keep our satisfaction in mind. Till the next time we walk together, take care, everybody. Hey guys, one last thing. I'm super excited that this new podcast, Alive by Design, just went live. You see, I designed the show to bring you inspired thoughts and fascinating conversations with the world's most impactful people, to provide transformative principles and practices to help you wake up, move toward your meant to, and feel fully alive. And I'd love for you to help me spread the word now. Simply subscribe, rate, and review the podcast on this platform right now. So if I've ever given you value, please do me this personal favor and go subscribe now. And if you found today's episode helpful in any way, make sure you share this with at least one friend today. You have the power right now to change someone's day. So send them a text message with a link to alivebydesign.com, or simply copy and paste the link right from this podcast platform. Who's one person you know right now that you want to see succeed, that you want to see grow, that you want to see feel more alive? Shoot them a text with your largest takeaway from today and be a light in their day. And if you were referred here by a friend, make sure you shoot them a text back and say thank you. I'd love to hear from you directly on what you got from today's podcast. So if you're up for it, drop by my Instagram @BlakeMallon and shoot me a DM. And as always, thank you for showing up. I'm grateful for you, and I hope our time together today in some small way helped you feel a little more alive. Until next time.